Guys, we are back. Over the night, Dana White put out some pretty mind blowing news. We kind of saw it coming, but the fact that it's actually happening is insane. Ilya Topuria is vacating his featherweight championship. He will be moving up to lightweight at some point this year. And in the meantime, fighting for the featherweight championship at UFC 314 in Miami, we have a returning Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. This is just really insane because how many times do you see a guy like the risk that Topuria is taking, vacating his belt? It's another level of chasing greatness. I don't love it because I wish that we could have saw a Volk rematch and also maybe a Lopez fight and maybe the Movsar fight if he keeps winning. I would have loved him to get like two or three title defenses, but if he really goes up to lightweight and he's called out Poirier, if he beats someone like Poirier or Oliveira, and then he goes on and beats Islam, you're talking about one of the greatest runs of all time and automatically putting yourself in the GOAT discussion. Not by a long championship reign, but by two belts and the guys that he has beaten. At that point, he would have beaten Volkanovski, Max Holloway, and Islam Makhachev. Insane names on someone's resume. Now, that is a lot of what ifs, and that is in the near but distant future, sometime probably in the middle of this year. But let's get to UFC 314 in Miami. You have Volk versus Lopez in the main event for the undisputed featherweight championship because Topuria is vacating it. Now, you could tell in Dana White's announcement he doesn't really love the fact that Ilya is vacating the belt. It really seemed like that was like a decision they made in that moment, and then Dana made a video 5 minutes later because his energy was not very high and he wasn't too happy about it. Best case scenario for the UFC is for Diego Lopez to beat Volk. Reason being, yes, we love Volk. It never looks good when a champion gives up their belt and then the guy they beat wins that belt. It just kind of discredits the champion and it discredits the division because it's like, that guy's only the champion because this guy moved on. So for the UFC, they probably want Diego Lopez to win that fight because it would be a fresh guy at the top, and you wouldn't be able to have a guy like Topuria say, I could run that division anytime I want. Diego would be able to sit there and say, dude, you ran to the next division, you didn't want to fight me, blah, blah, blah. So for the UFC, they definitely, just credibility wise, would want Volk to win that matchup. And in the co-main event of UFC 314, we have Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. Dana announced the whole 314 card. Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. Now, is Paddy Pimblett Conor McGregor? Absolutely not. But he is one of the bigger names in the sport right now. He is still, up and coming. He's ranked number 12. Chandler's ranked number 7. But massive step up in competition for Paddy Pimblett, even though Chandler hasn't beat most of the guys he's fought in the UFC. It's always, an amazing fight when Chandler fights. And Chandler is always in the fight. Chandler could always possibly win a fight, no matter who he's fighting. And despite his UFC record, he is always in those fights. So, this is a great matchup in my opinion because it's another. I love these matchups the UFC has been making where you get an established vet who has been a contender for a long time against a guy who is in the top 15 trying to crack that, top 8, top 5 like range. We saw that with the Dustin Poirier and Benoit Saint Denis last year. We just saw that recently. Oh my God, who did we see? There was just a matchup recently that was like this, but you guys know exactly what I'm getting at. These established vets giving a shot to the young guy. We saw it with Justin Gaethje versus Fiziev about 2 years ago. Those type of matchups, and this is another one of those. You're giving Pimblett the chance to get in that top 8, top 5 by beating a guy like Michael Chandler. And this is a dangerous fight for Paddy. They are not protecting him at this point. Now it's like, all right, Paddy, go. You gotta do something. We're giving you a shot. Go. You're 28 now, 29. You're in your prime. No more gimme fights. He stepped up last fight and fought Bobby Green. Very solid vet. Always, in a fight, can win at any time. Now you're fighting Michael Chandler. So I really like that fight. Probably going to be chaos. We're going to see Paddy get tested at some point. Let's see the rest of that card. Like I said, we have VOLK and LOPEZ in the main. Chandler and Pimblett. Welterweight, we have Jeff Neal versus Carlos Prates. This was a fight that we've been talking about for a while. I think Prates called Jeff Neal out in his last fight. That is a banger at welterweight. That is a sick fight. A step up in competition for Carlos Prates, a chance to get in that top 10, and just that's going to be like a striker's delight. Nikita Krylov versus Dominic Reyes. I didn't realize Krylov was ranked number 8. Dominic Reyes, I think now, is on a 3-fight win streak, and he's kind of brought everything back together. So for him, this is probably the toughest fight he's had on this run, on this little win streak he's put back together. I really like seeing Dominic Reyes come back to form, and I want to see if he can keep it going. And light heavyweight needs it, to be honest. So that's a great fight. Yan Xiaonan versus Verna Jandiroba. Women's strawweight, another really good fight. Yan Xiaonan, former title challenger. Jandiroba, number 3. Strawweight needs someone to really come through. That division's looking a little thin now. We'll see what happens there. Darren Elkins and Julian Erosa. Gonna be a banger, action-packed fight. Darren the Damage Elkins. Jim fucking Miller and Chase Hooper. I love it. Another great fight. Chase Hooper just trying to take out all the vets. Alberto Montez versus Roberto Romero. Cedricus Dumas versus Michael Oleksiejczuk. I'm going to try to say that name, all right? Sumu Derji versus Mitch Raposo. Dan Ige versus Sean Woodson. No way they are opening up the card. That fight should be way higher up. But, guys, this is the type of pay-per-view that we've been asking for. A lot of great fights on it, right? Most of these pay-per-views have been very thin. You got a very good headliner, and then the rest of the card is like, you're lucky if you get a great co-main event. But they love to stack this Miami card, and these top 3 fights are awesome. And then even Krylov and Reyes, that's great. And then you got some bangers on the prelims. Guys, this is going to be a sick card. Ilia Topuria going up to lightweight in the near future, probably International Fight Week. Lots of breaking news. Give me your thoughts on everything. What do you think about him vacating the belt? He says it's because he can't make the weight anymore, which I understand, but you made it back in October, and you performed great. So it seems like he really just doesn't want to. Give me your thoughts on Topuria vacating the belt. Give me your thoughts on UFC 314, guys. And I will see you in the next one. Like, comment, and subscribe for me.